This is the Biz of Wealth. Challenges, rumblings, and evolution of the wealth management industry.
Welcome to Business of Wealth. Today I have a special interview that I'm very looking forward to because it's the first one that we're doing with two people at the same time. But these are two great guys, Kurt Dupuis and Seid. I got to them because I found them hosting a podcast for financial advisors, which I found very interesting. And we'll dive into that later. But basically, they are both regional vice presidents at Touchstone Investment. Kurt is based in Atlanta and covers several states in the Southeast. And Steve is based in the Bay Area and manages the West Coast. They are co-hosts of The Whole Truth for Financial Professionals, which is a podcast focused on practice management for financial professionals. Well, guys, thank you for being here and welcome.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So I'd like to start with a question that helps me introduce you guys in the best light possible, which is, what is the best compliment you have ever received?
Yeah, I'll jump in and take this one, Kurt. You can add if you'd like, and I'll put this in a business context. The best compliment that I receive these days is, I've never met another wholesaler like you. So let me back up. We are, for your audience, we are in the asset management business. So what we do is we go and we market and sell investment products to financial professionals who then put together portfolios for end clients, so to speak. Very, very competitive business. It's a great business, but very, very competitive. And, me personally, when I took this job about 7 years ago, I thought, there's something different I could bring to it and unique. And our firm has gone down that path and said, hey, listen, we want to be different. In an industry where a lot is the same, we are choosing to be different. And so there's a lot of ways we've, done that, the podcast being one of them, which we'll get into. But when I go through and I do my process of interacting in my sales process, and they say, wow, I've never had this experience before, that really is what, gets me excited.
Kurt, did you want to add?
I do, because I had one recently that really took me back. So same role as Steve. Just a couple months ago, as the year was wrapping up, one of our clients was doing a client appreciation event. I was there and sat with his clients and, had dinner and socialized. And at the end of it, I didn't know this. He said, there's only 2 or 3 other people that I'd be comfortable sitting down with my clients. And so just the level of trust that we've been able to garner over the probably 3 years that we've been working together, that means a lot, right? You have different types of business relationships in this world, and some are more almost transactional, like what are you selling? What am I buying? Like, done deal. But when you can get to that next layer and really connect with someone on a personal level, that's what really gets me excited and gives me fulfillment in what we do.
And that's also differentiation too, right? I think we both kind of get fired up by that same, like, hey, there's a lot of people that vie for these financial professionals' time. And if we stand out amongst the crowd, we're doing our job well.
Actually, that is actually one of the things that I was thinking while you were speaking, Steve. You mentioned your sales process, how different it is, your sales process. And that's something that I always struggle with our clients. For a lot of my clients do have financial professionals as their target client, and vying for that time, vying for that attention is pretty difficult. They're bombarded every single day. So what's different? Why did you mention, hey, we do the sales process differently?
What we basically so here's how we think about it. The investment side of our equation, we think, is exceptional, but that alone does not, separate you. There's a lot of good investment firms out there. So the path that we've gone down is really try to help them holistically with their business. And there's a lot of other, people that will say that, but what we tried to do is do that part more in depth and more authentic. And when I say authentic, I mean, we're not there just to cram products down their throat. Like, okay, we helped you with something. Now you owe us this. It really is coming from a place that's fundamentally trying to help them. In the case of financial professionals, a lot of them, they're entrepreneurs. They own their own business, but that's not necessarily what they got in the business for, to be a CEO per se. And so if we can sort of help them run their business, help them with key problems, it's a different kind of relationship. And as I mentioned before, there's a lot of folks that say they want to do that, but they don't do it. And we do it in a much more in-depth way, in a much more authentic way. Kurt, does that make sense to you? I think that's the way I would explain it.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add is I approached this, I think of the golden rule a lot. I think like we kind of have this expertise. It's not for everybody, and that's okay to know that. But for those people that resonate with our story and how we do things, it's impactful. And so why wouldn't you help make their business better if you were given the opportunity to? So, if I just try to think, I put the shoe on the other foot. If I'm a financial professional getting a call from a guy like me, I try to be worthy of that time and give them something that's differentiated, but also something that will help them out at the end of the day.
So those financial professionals, what is the most common problem you see them facing every day when you talk to them?
How long you got? Not very few interactions are the same. Some of them, I guess they have some similarities, but there's just so many seismic shifts happening, and we're at varying degrees of that completion. So, the business is moving from brokerage to advisory. We talk a fair bit about that. People are at their own different paths on that. We talk a lot about, when we talk about running a business, so we talk about segmenting clients, attaching a service model, creating a matrix of service for those clients to try to deliver exceptional care. Those are not new concepts, but I'm not sure that they are fully adopted by the folks that we serve. So there's an opportunity for us. So a lot of the interactions, they're just around business. How can we drive revenue? How we can top line or bottom line? How we can bring on new clients? It's just normal business types of conversations. But to Seid's point earlier, a lot of folks didn't sign up to be CEOs or didn't even think of themselves as entrepreneurs when they started in this business 20, 30 years ago. They were salespeople, and they were good salespeople. So I think part of our niche is filling that gap of people realizing, like, I don't need to be a CEO per se, but I do need to work on my business, not just in the business. And so we help service that gap.
That's a very common problem with service-based companies that are started by founder. I even go through that all the time. Like, you have to convert from in your business to on your business. When you have these conversations, what is the number one question that you always wish they would ask more often?
That's a really good question, because I tend to be the question asker. I'm always trying to pull out.
And you're a host of the podcast too.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
I think the question that let me think about this for a second.
You wished you were asked more often.
Yeah, I think it's like, the question is from the what to the how. So I wish they were asked, like, how do we actually do something, as opposed to what do we want to achieve? Because that's, to me, like, that's what our secret sauce has kind of been. So we end up getting there. But people, they're in this business, they're busy people, they've got these challenges they want to address, or these opportunities that they want to address. And everyone's fired up, and we can lay that up in front of them and say, okay, here's what you need to do, here are the whatever. But then so often, they go back to their business and the phone starts ringing, and the best intentions don't turn into action. And so the people that, ask, like, well, how do we do it? And really the step, the execution, the specific, how do I take the first step, and really get into that type of question with us. I wish I was asked that more. Now we're going to get there anyway, because there's no way that Kurt or I or our firm are going to come in and try to help you, and you're not going to hear about or have a discussion about execution. But that really is I think the secret sauce.
Good. So I haven't found many people like you podcasting. So how did you guys get started? What What drove this?
Yeah, well, so first of all, let me just say we're really fortunate. Kurt can attest to this. Like our other wholesaler friends see that we've started the podcast, and they're like, "Kind of, how'd you pull that off?" Because I think at most firms we probably would not be able to pull it off. But as I said before, our firm really is trying to be different and is investing in that whole practice management, business consulting, value add space. And so, we pitched it. By the way, we're a very fast growing firm. We're 40 billion. We've doubled in the past 3 years, which a lot of firms in our industry cannot say. But we're not like this big behemoth of a firm. We're still in our growth phase. And so with that background, Kurt and I basically just started talking about it and saying this would be an interesting medium. And I'm happy to comment on why and why we decided to do it. But it was about just going and pitching the CEO and saying, hey, listen, we have this idea for this medium. What do you think? And I remember this. Like we booked time with our CEO. It was our national sales meeting. We had this 10-minute side session with him. We sat down. It was our president, our CEO, it was our head of marketing. And we had this whole thing prepared of going into, this is what we want to do. This is the podcast. And what was it, Kurt? Within maybe 20 seconds, he's like, do it. It was just like that quick. And anyway, that's how we got started. I'm happy to talk about why. And
yeah, well, most people, people in your situation will say, "Oh, this takes too much time. I'm not going to do it."
Well, we have a benefit there, but a side story. SIDE, not SEID. We had actually recorded an episode, and so mostly side, but we figured out how do we record this? How do we edit? We added music to it. It was rough and it was awful, but we wanted to have a tangible product ready to pitch to the president, thinking that we would need that. And so when in 30 seconds he basically gave us the green light, it's like, okay, well, we didn't need to do all that, but it was a good learning experience.
Yeah.
And now we're also fortunate in that the company supports us with resources, and we don't do any of the editing. We come up with the ideas, we contact the guests, we go through, we do our due diligence. So we're doing the heavy lifting for the show, but when it comes to the hard technical skills of actually delivering a podcast, we don't have to get involved with that, which is nice.
Do you want me to answer your question on why?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, first of all, it's Kurt and, it's funny. We're doing this Kolbe assessment now. If you ever heard KO, what is it? KOLBE? Did I spell that right? Kolbe. Yeah. So it basically says, how do you work? And there's these different elements. And what Kurt and I found is, although we're very different people, we have a lot of in terms of how we work. And one of those is we're this thing called Quick Starter, which we have these ideas and we want to go do them. And so, I think for us, it always comes back to a point of, differentiation. I've used that term about 5 times. No one else is doing this. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can do it and be different. And so for us, it's yes, it's time, but it's also time that I would have been spending doing research and building my skill set anyway. So financial advisor, I sit down with them in a meeting, financial professional, I should say now. And they say, "Oh, Steve, I'm struggling with, I have too many investments across the book, or I'm having trouble managing the next generation, like Gen X's and Gen Z's and all those things. And not Gen X's, but, millennials and Gen Z's. Can you help me with this? Or I'm having trouble planning." What used to happen is I would go back and if I didn't have the expertise, just research like crazy, pick up books and go on the internet and just sort of get that expertise. Well, now, I'm doing that work. So why not then be able to take a medium like a podcast and then share that? And what's been amazing about it in terms of where we're headed, and you're a testament to it, is now we're not only doing the research on our own, but we're interacting with the experts, right? We had you on because you're a marketing expert and you could talk to us about client journeys. I don't know anything about client journeys. So anyways, it's work we would have done anyway. And now we get this incredibly powerful medium that differentiates us. I'm giddy over it. I'm just thrilled that we got it off the ground, and 36 episodes in, people are listening to it. And anyway, I hope that answers your question.
It does. So, through all these interviews, you've been focusing on practice management. So you take that into your conversations with your clients or your prospects. And where do you see the industry going? Who do you think is gonna, be successful? Who do you think is gonna fail based on all of these research you've been doing and what you've seen in the market?
Yeah, I'll jump in there, Kurt, and please add on, just because I have a clear answer to this. I think the industry is headed to a place where you better be delivering an exceptional level of service. You got to do well in the basics, the financial planning, the investments. But I think the folks that we're seeing exceed right now are those that can deliver an exceptional level of service. And that's high level. There's a lot to talk about there. But I just can say from the financial professionals that I work with that are doing that really well, getting into their clients' lives, again, there's a lot to talk about there, but they're not worried about fee compression. They're not worried when the market goes down that their clients are going to run out the door. They just don't have that worry. And, I don't know, Kurt, I don't know if you'd add anything to that.
Well, I'm not sure which specific industry, but for the clients that we serve, I think that's the answer. But then there's the asset management side. And I think you already touched on it. There's consolidation in our business. There's fee compression in our business too. So it's asset managers that have a distinctive brand, a distinctive message that are just different. And that can show that differentiation. Those are going to be the winners in the future.
And I'll add one more thing. There's you always see these articles out there about, robo advisors are going to come in, on the financial professional side, or, on our side, like, it's just all moving towards passive. Like there's some of that, but that's completely overdone. And most of that are just like sensational articles. And if you are an asset manager that does a really good job, and then can bring some additional value, as Kurt said, if you're a financial professional that just, provides a level of service that a robo can't, there's only so far that pendulum can swing, and our industry is still a great one.
So I'm all about scalability. And when you talk about level of service, the tradition, my traditional mind goes into, hey, I have my clients on my WhatsApp or my text message, and I'm like one-on-one on them all the time. I go to the holidays of, or I share holidays, I share birthday parties of the kids. That's the type of close relationship traditionally we've seen. You don't scale that. So how do you grow?
Well, we think about that a lot, because that's the easiest, so of all of the shoes to drop in scalability, service is kind of the easiest one. It's like, they called, I'll get back to it when I can, or I'm not proactive, I'm just reactive to client needs. That's an easy trap to fall into. And we have an exercise actually where we try to mathematically show people, you don't have time to service all these. You're telling me what service you want to deliver. It's physically impossible to do it. And so we have an exercise where we walk through that with people, because it's one of those cognitive dissonance things. Like people think they're offering this great thing, but when you show it on paper, it's not actually true. And I think when you talk about, there's plenty of ways you can scale the clients that we serve, but service tends to be the one that gets ignored the quickest and easiest.
And we talked about, practice management before, and we've gone out and we've done these meetings with financial professionals now, having these types of conversations for a long time. And so, although to Kurt's point, there's different problems, there's also some common ones. And one of the commons in our industry is you have way too many households that you're going to service. And so what's the answer to that? The answer is okay, we keep your clients and build out your team and capacity to service. You can do that. Or you can cut your clients. And what we see is that a lot of financial professionals are holding on to clients that are really not moving the needle for them. And so we kind of suggest, hey, you should rethink this. But the question, like, what does this ultimately come back to? Like, what we're seeing clients grow, like, what are the financial professionals that are really growing? They're growing through, doing a really great job for current clients. Like, yeah, there's new client acquisition strategies, but so many of them are doing it by just like really doing a wonderful job. And you just can't do that with 300 households per FA. You can't do it. So this is not a new concept. There was a book written in the 80s, I think it was, called Supernova at Merrill Lynch. That was just basically like, you got to shrink to grow. So it's not a new concept, and it's one that we talk about a lot, because it's just, your point of scalability is right on.
What's that magic number then?
Boy, I would say 150 on the upper end, and you're really pushing it. It depends on the complexity of the household and the demographic that you serve, but really it should be kind of an 80 to 150. And if the households have complex needs, more towards the 80 to 100. If they're more simple needs, you could probably do 125, 150.
Okay.
There's also there's a misconception with financial professionals that growth, because we talk a lot about growth, comes externally, right? It's client acquisition. And so a good chunk of our work is persuading with data, so it's pretty conclusive, that you can grow from within. So more profitable relationships, like Seid's talking about, but also, so we had a guest on our show that works with referrals and client experience, and she talks about something, the referral gap. And so the gap between how many people are actually referring versus how many a financial professional thinks that they are being referred. And so I would argue you don't need to go up. You don't need an overly aggressive client acquisition strategies. You just got to do a better job of cultivating the referrals you're getting that you don't even know about. And so there's tons of, let's call them internal mechanisms for growth that don't require you doing seminars or even podcasting or blogging. We love that stuff. I think that those are great client acquisition strategies. But there's also tons of tools to grow internally that people just oftentimes overlook.
Yeah, that's part of the analysis of the customer journey that we were talking about, that it's about checking, where is it that your that the easiest and cheapest acquisition cost is. That is, most of the time it's not at lead acquisition, but on the rest of the journey. What has changed, with I hate this question, but at the same time, I think that a lot has changed with the pandemic and the process in which we not only acquire clients, but service them. Well, for you guys, what has been the biggest change you've seen and the biggest adaptation you've had to make?
Well, so early on, it was kind of all hands on deck. Let's over communicate on the investment side, what's going on with the strategies. And there was some value to be had there for sure. I think where we've settled 2 years into this now is just the adoption of technology. I can't overstress the, if you look at the demographics for the folks that we serve, they tend to be on the older side, and technology, they haven't always been comfortable with technology, but now hopping on a WebEx, hopping on a Zoom and talking about whatever you're talking about, to include the investment side, to include the practice management stuff, everyone's comfortable with technology. So it's a constant struggle for us now, trying to figure out, well, are we going back in person, or we're sort of living in this hybrid world? But it's a world that was forced upon us, but the adoption has been way higher than it would have been otherwise had a pandemic not happened.
Yeah, I would just add in, it used to be before the pandemic, I would feel that if I did a meeting like, virtual meeting or Zoom meeting with a prospect or a client, I'd almost feel a little bit bad about it, because it's like, oh, what, you're not going to come to see me? And now it's so normal that, really our time is, we can do a lot more with our time. Big territories, I cover half the state of California. It used to be, hey, I've got an opportunity across the state, 5-6 hours away. Well, you got to get in the car and go. And that's a whole day lost. You can do stuff in the car, but not to that degree, but now it's normal. So,
Aren't we burning out more too with that, in that case? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a big challenge.
It's harder to take it slower. At least that's in my case. It's harder to really say, hey, no, instead of having back-to-back Zoom meetings all day, I'll have, 3 or 4, which you could say in person, and it would be a perfectly productive day. But now you feel bad about it.
It's a great point. And it's also a point that when your office is like 5 steps away, and keeping your home life separate, I think is an important thing to do. And we're seeing our clients, struggle to figure that out. But I think you do have to you've got to kind of create that wall. For me, that wall's easy. I've got a 2-year-old. So there's just, when I'm with her, there's not going to be any work getting done. But for a lot of other people, it's hard. You're always kind of drawn to the computer. And I think it's a great point you made. Definitely.
Okay, we're going to finish with a couple of lighter questions. What is your favorite word?
Kurt? Well, Kurt will tell, and I'll just answer for what Kurt would say.
Wait. We're going to do the other way. You have to guess Kurt's favorite word, and Steve had, and the other way around.
Kurt's going to get mine. All right, Kurt.
I got the easier job there.
Yeah.
Seid's all about process. So anything that talks about process or framework might be better. His $64,000 word. He loves anything with a framework.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I think Kurt's favorite word would have to be something Cajun, something down from Louisiana. We have a thing on our podcast. We have a thing on our podcast where it's he teaches me Cajun. So it's one of those fun segments. But I don't know, Kurt, what is your favorite word? Am I right? Is it Cajun?
I could probably, with you stumping you because you have you're Cajun illiterate, it'd probably be a Cajun word for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we play this game where I just say a word and he's got to spell it and then use it in a sentence.
I don't think I got any of them right.
Spelling bee. I love spelling bee.
It's basically a way to make me look stupid. Yeah.
Okay. And if you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be?
This is going to get outside of business just for personal.
Go ahead.
My wife and I do a lot of philanthropic work around animal rescue, and so if I had a billboard, what I'd have is the supply of pets in the shelter and the demand of people buying pets, and if we could match those up and basically reduce the amount of animals in shelters, animals being euthanized. To me, it's a very simple math problem. And if we could solve that, and that's what I put on a billboard. Wait, sorry, there is no online platform for that? I haven't seen it. I mean, there's definitely there's organizations that have popped up that try to match the demand everywhere. There's a site called Pet Finder. So that basically aggregates all, the shelter animals. So for example, the thing that I hear from folks that I want this type of dog, right? So, okay, great. But no matter what it is, you don't have to pay $3,000 for it. You can find that type of dog somewhere in the country and match that up. So there's that. But I have to this point not seen, something at the national level that matches that. Because again, there's demand for pets. We love our dogs. We love our cats. We love our animals. And if we could just sort of harness that demand and sort of match that up, I think, man, what a big step.
That's the next business.
Yep.
How about
Took us off a different route, but you asked me.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
We are a wholesome person. We cannot segment ourselves, and bringing your whole self into work for me has always been my thing. But also after the pandemic, even more. We're all, I think that you bring so much more to the table when you're your whole self at work. I really enjoyed, you were on our show. I was just editing it, and you were talking about, starting your firm and doing an exercise where you got to uncover, who you are at a deep level. And you made the comment, which is near and dear. You're like, I'm going to swear in my business. And because it's too much energy not to swear. And at that point, I just knew I loved you, Alejandra. That's so cute. I knew that we were going to be great friends after that. So, Kurt, tell me your billboard, and we'll close with that.
Yeah, I'll only get halfway personal because it's a way longer story. But there's an image that I have in my head that's a lot of things going on. But the image is of a toucan, the bird, with the phrase "pura vida."
From Costa Rica, yes.
I started learning Spanish at a time where there's a lot of things going on in my life. My wife and our honeymoon was in Costa Rica, and I just think I'm just imagining a billboard of my life and what I want it to be and how I try to live my life. I want to be fulfilled, do meaningful stuff, but have fun doing it. And Pura Vida and that little stinking toucan just represents that beautifully. That would be what's on my billboard.
So if we speak next year, maybe we find you living in Costa Rica.
Puede ser.
Puede ser. Guys, it's been so much fun. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope we get to do many more stuff together. I think we should.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Likewise. This was great, Alejandro. Thank you.